A very good morning to all the officers. I warmly welcome Shri D.P. Nagendra Kumar, member CBIC, to this session. Sir has been very inspiring, supporting and encouraging in all our journeys of e-way bill, e-invoice, GST Prime and e-way bill analytic systems. We thank you, sir, wholeheartedly for your support and guidance. I also welcome all the chief commissioners, principal commissioners, commissioners and all officers to this session. I also welcome Shri P.V. Bhatt sir, Deputy Director General and State Informatics Officer, Karnataka, to this session. He has been the brainchild of all these systems. His vast knowledge, experience has helped in building these large systems. So, Madam, as e-invoicing is enabled for taxpayers above 20 crores, we have been conducting series of webinars to create the awareness among taxpayers. We have conducted a session on 19th of March and there was an overwhelming response by all the taxpayers. However, we would also like all the officers to be updated with the new developments in e-invoicing. Hence, in today's session, we would like to discuss the e-invoicing process, various tools that can be used by the taxpayers, and frequently asked questions by the taxpayers. So this will help the GST field officers in providing support to the taxpayers and also clarifying the doubts on e-invoicing. I now request Shri Nagendra Kumar sir, member CBIC, to address and present his views to the officers. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Ms. Sunita. Good morning, everyone. My colleagues in the CBIC, the Deputy Director General, NIC, Bangalore, Mr. P.V. Bhatt, and his able team, Ms. Suresh Mehti, Ms. Sunita Benor, and all the participants. As you're all aware, the e-invoice is one of the reforms which the GST Council had suggested, not only to bring more compliance, but also provide an end-to-end solution in terms of ease of complying with the GST law. To start with, in October 2020, we had introduced it for those taxpayers whose aggregate turnover in any of the preceding financial years exceeded rupees 500 crores. That was an humble beginning. And the government took a decision to keep NIC as a single invoice reference portal would operate this e-invoice platform, of course, as a provider of service to the GSTN and the overall umbrella of GSTN network. The threshold was brought down to 100 crores in January 2021. And in April 21, it was brought down to 50 crores. Now, this segment of above 50 crores and above, in terms of generating the invoice on a B2B transactions, has been a stupendous success. In the sense that the portal provided a seamless solution for taxpayers to upload the e-invoices and obtain the unique reference number, which would automatically get populated both in terms of the e-way bill part A, as well as also to provide a GSTR1 auto population. Taking this success into mind, and also the need that as tax administration, we require more and more information at line level insofar as the compliance is concerned. I think the decision taken recently by the Honorable Finance Minister that it should be extended up to the turnover limit of 20 crores and above. Now, 20 crores and above, that is the bracket between 20 crores to 50 crore, will add considerable number of taxpayers into the e-invoice compliance regime. Given the short window of time available to the taxpayers in onboarding into the e-invoicing, we felt that we should organize outreach programs across the country to the taxpayers. And to that objective, I think NIC has been playing a very proactive role. In the last 1 week, not a single day has passed where I have not been participating in those programs organized by NIC on a back-to-back basis. We had a similar program for state officers yesterday. The NIC had exclusively organized an outreach program for all the state GST officers, and today they are organizing it for our central tax officers. Now, participation in this workshop will definitely give you some insight into how the technical part of the invoicing works. This would go in twofold insofar as your work efficiency is concerned. You will not only be providing an handholding and guidance to your taxpayers should they come across any queries or any doubts. The other side is that you will see what exactly the information which can come to you as a tax officer, which can be very effectively used. Today, if you are looking at the classification of goods, the classification of services, given the fact that the 3B is a consolidated return and the annual return filing percentage has not been very, very high. Of course, we have provided a lot of exemptions to that annual return filing. If you want to see the classification of a product or a service or the rate of tax applied by the taxpayer, I think you would find it extremely difficult and challenging. Even if you want to do a sectoral analysis with regard to the growth of revenue, or for that matter, how a particular segment has been working on that, you will find it extremely difficult in terms of getting the data because we have been getting only a summary written in the form of a 3B. The GSTR1 return, albeit being granular, it only gives some sort of a basic details. Again, it doesn't throw light adequately in terms of the description of the product or the classification of the rate of tax, or even for that matter, the exemption availed. It provides details such as invoice number, invoice date, consignor, consignee, the taxable value, and the tax rate applied. But with regard to the nomenclature of the product or the service, again, it's a long ask. Many of the times when you deal with issues relating to the refunds, issues relating to matters relating to audit scrutiny, particularly with regard to the rate structure, you will find that it's still a challenge for you in terms of information seeking from the taxpayer. Now, the e-invoicing is going to provide a complete solution to those challenges in times to come. The e-invoice, which is going to be available to you, will give you the taxable value, tax rate applied, the description of the product or the services, and also provide you on a real-time basis this information. Now, so far we have been, in terms of the goods taxation, E-way bill was one such instrumentality which we were using to validate with regard to the product description, the product rate applied, etc. On services, we don't have a corresponding document to track with regard to the supply side details. E-invoicing will bridge that gap and provide you that information. Now, we have been in the policy level, board level, have been getting the data from NIC with regard to the macro analysis of the sectors. And the officers in the Bangalore zone who have been using the GST Prime were also been made presentation on the GST Prime with regard to the analytics available through the e-invoicing reference. Now, adoption of this lower threshold would get that many more taxpayers who are contributing cash revenue to the government in terms of analysis, and also provide a sort of a comfort level in our officers in verifying the compliance in a non-intrusive manner. In this background, I think I would request all of you to give, I'm glad I think over 1,000 officers are participating in today's webinar. In the next 1 hour or 1.5 hours, what NIC team is going to spend with you and explaining the details of the nuances of the scheme will certainly benefit all of you to use this application. And our objective and our intent is to see that more and more analytics comes out of this e-invoicing data, which would enable us to monitor the GST compliance better. And as we are launching the scrutiny program from 1st of April 2022, I think such of this information, of course, this will be prospectively available. What I'm saying is, I think going forward, I think this will aid greatly in facilitating a non-intrusive tax administration. And at the conclusion, I must wholeheartedly compliment NIC team, ably led by Mr. P.V. Bhatt. Mr. P.V. Bhatt, most of you may not be aware, has been working in the tax domain for over about 2.5 decades. He was working with NIC in our Sermon project way back in 2000, not even 2000, much earlier in the Belgavi Commissionerate. From there, he moved to the State VAT Department, and he has been continuously engaged in the tax domain insofar as providing and developing technology solutions to the tax administration. The Karnataka VAT Department has been ahead in adoption of technology thanks to the able support and technical assistance provided by Mr. Bhatt and his team to the Karnataka Department. They were pioneers in developing applications like e-Sugam, uploading of electronic upload of purchase and sales statements. And that experience went in a long way in NIC team developing the e-way bill. And of course, now they have provided another beautiful product in the form of e-invoicing. I think the team has been extremely supportive, user-friendly, and also I think they have a great, appreciation of the domain knowledge. I think with these words, I thank every one of you for taking your time and participating. And of course, some of you were told in a very short notice, but The mail had gone down from NIC directly to all the zones, but I didn't follow it up. But I'm glad that all of you are participating in the program. With these words, I thank once again the NIC team and hand over to the NIC team for taking it further. Thanks.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your valuable information and encouraging words. Under your guidance, we should be able to reach to a maximum height in e-invoicing system. Thank you, sir. I now request Shri P.V. Bhatt, sir, Deputy Director General and State Informatics Officer, to present the highlights, concepts, and process of e-invoicing system. Over to you, sir.
Good morning to all. Sri D.P. Nagendra Kumar, sir, and other Principal Chief Commissioner and Chief Commissioners of the zones and commissioners and other officers of the CBIC who have joined today for this session. I am very glad to conduct this program. In fact, for this, we got a very good encouragement and support from the DP Nagendra Kumar sir. We are conducting the series of webinars now. Last week, we have conducted for the taxpayer. Yesterday, we have conducted for the state GST officers. Today, we are conducting for central GST officers. And tomorrow, one more is there for a taxpayer. That is tomorrow, 11 o'clock. I have sent the link to all the chief commissioners. I request all of you to communicate back to the field level officer so that they can come educate and tell the taxpayer who are eligible, they can join and get the benefit out of that. And in fact, all these webinars, we can see that very encouragement is there. Always in last 3-4 sessions, wherever you have conducted a webinar, more than 1,000 people are participating. That itself shows the people are very keen to take and adapt and take it further on that. With that background, I will start with my presentation. As already Nagendra Kumar sir has told, as he was regularly encouraging when we are there from Bangalore days also, e-invoicing is a game changer in the whole process. It is going to build the way in which the complete ecosystem is going to work in the e-invoicing, in the GST system. I'll cover those aspects in the coming slides, and my colleagues also take it further and explain the tools what we have developed for the e-invoicing. Next slide. So you know about National Informatics Center, and all of you are now. I'm happy that I'm very thankful that all the GST system officers are using the e-office. This is one of the wonderful products which has been rolled out throughout the CBIC now, and all the officers are using, and it has made a completely paperless system. So NIC, we are working with the custom system from beginning. For last 32 years, we have built a custom system, and all of you are using it, and you are aware about that. And also, we have worked with the indirect taxation system department like VAT and professional tax, sales tax with the state government departments. 4 years back, as the GST Council has requested us to take up the e-way bill project, and we started a e-way bill project, and it is now running throughout the country for last 4 years. Now, 1.5 years back, we started the e-invoicing system. This is also running very smoothly. In fact, these are the two critical systems I can say, which has to run 24/7. In case even if the server or system is going to down for half an hour, you can imagine kind of the noise rises in the whole market or in the economy or the taxpayers. So this is one of the area where we are constantly monitoring and updating and taking care about this. And we have provided the various ways the people can connect and use the system. Next slide. Before I go into the e-invoicing system, I thought I will cover about the e-way bill system. Next slide. So that I can share the experience or the journey, how we have gone ahead with that. So as I was saying, it is a 4 years journey now. We have crossed a 250 crore e-way bill generation in last 4 years. That itself is the biggest milestone, I can say. 2.5 billion e-way bills have been generated. Obviously, as all of you know, it has helped in moving from one nation, one tax, one market, with again one e-way bill. As most of you may be aware, previously before the GST system, each state had a separate e-way bill, and the taxpayer or the transporter was supposed to generate it for each state separately. Now it has been clubbed, and one e-way bill has become, thanks to the CBSE and all the states, everybody has removed the static checkpost. Because of the removing of the static checkpost and the introduction of the one e-way bill, goods movement has become faster. So transporters themselves say that they are able to save around 30% of the time because of the new introduction of the one e-way bill system. And also it has increased in the tax compliance, as you all already are aware. If 2 months the taxpayer has not filed the return, he will not be allowed to generate the e-way bill. So obviously indirectly we are pushing, ensuring that taxpayers are filing regularly R3B. Now also I understand you have introduced the R1 also. So that way in compliance also is being increased one way or the other way of bringing up that. And boosting the tax GST revenue collection. Obviously, this is one of the area where it has helped. As the previous revenue secretary was only saying that after introduction of the e-way bill, the tax collection has stabilized. First 9 months when the e-way bill was not there, the very fluctuation was there in the tax collection. Subsequently, it went on stabilizing and it is keep on increasing. Then, as government wanted one of the area where they want to introduce the ease of doing business, yes, it has been achieved in that. And all of you are aware that we have built a wonderful e-way bill analytical system, which has been integrated with the FASTag data, vehicle Vahan data, and a lot of analytics has been provided. And I am happy that most of the officers and the zones have used that to detect the bogus ITC claims or the transactions or the tax evasion kind of a thing. Not only CBC and states also have used. Thanks for that encouraging response and usage of the system. Next slide, please. Now I will go to the e-invoicing system. As you know, as of now, in last 1.5 years, we have reached 144 crores e-invoices on this portal. This is as on 10 days back. So by the end of this month, we will be reaching 150 crores. That is almost 1.5 billion e-invoices are generated on the portal. Itself shows how rugged the system is and how the office taxpayers are complying to the whole system. Because the whole, next slide please, in this system, as Nagendra Kumar also sir has told, we have enabled only 50 crore about taxpayer now. In 50 crore about taxpayer, in that maybe around 2.5 lakh GSTNs are there. Out of that, 1.5 lakh GSTNs are generating or suppliers are generating the e-invoices. Other people may be exempted because of the various conditions which we can discuss in the next slides. So 1.5 lakh taxpayers, suppliers are generated 144 crore e-invoices, resulting into 75 lakhs recipients. So out of your more than 60% or 70% of the taxpayer base are getting the recipient of the e-invoicing system. You can know now that their ITC will be simplified. So when the supplier is uploaded the e-invoice, immediately it will be reflected in his account. Similarly, it will come to R2B. So obviously, the recipient is assured that his ITC is coming into the picture. So real-time basis, the ITC will be ensured for the recipient, and whatever the problems are there in the market, that will be taken out and the things will start happening. So this is one of the basic game changer in the whole process about the e-invoicing implementation. Next slide, please. Back. Yeah, you can see here, we have started in October 2020. So in October 2020, we started 5.7 crore e-invoices. And last month, we have reached 9 crore. And this month, we are expecting 10 crore e-invoices to be generated on the portal. So the stably system is taking care and generating the whole thing. And in one particular day, on the October 30th of September 30th, 48 lakh e-invoices have been generated on a one day on the portal. So that is the biggest e-invoices generation on that day. We are expecting again coming this month end, it will cross a 50 lakh e-invoices generation on the portal. Next slide. So as you know, this system is not only meant for the supplier to comply the e-invoicing purposes. It is not only just for the supplier to give the data and government is consuming the data. It is going to help all the stakeholders in the ecosystem. One is the supplier is going to be simplified in his compliance. Once he upload the e-invoice details, he is automatically R1 is prepared, e-way bill is prepared, and his R3B, everything, subsequent R2B, everything will be available. So he need not have to keep on struggling and keep on uploading those documents later point of a time. The system will take care about that. The recipient will be assured about his ITC, because once the e-invoice is been uploaded, obviously it will be reflecting in a 2A or a 2B. So he will be assured about his RTC. So that way and processing of receipt, everything will be streamlined by him for the taxpayer. Then transporter has to move the goods. So automatically, if he uploaded the invoice number is entered, and he only has to enter the vehicle and start generating e-way bill and start moving the goods. So his ecosystem also will be get benefited rather than again he is going to key in all the details. Obviously, financer also will be get benefited to ensure that whenever they are giving a loan or a trade discount they are giving or a bill discount they are giving, they can ensure that yes, this person is doing the business and he is receiving the goods or selling the goods kind of a thing. He can verify on the portal and he can be assured about that I can give the loan, because it is going to be reflected from the e-invoicing portal, that's the government portal, indicating that this transaction has taken place. So that way the financer also will be get benefited in the whole system. Obviously, officers will be benefited, department will be benefited as the tax compliance will increase. Government also will be happy to say that ease of doing business has been brought into the system, so that whole people will be get accommodated and everybody is taken care in the whole picture. Next slide. So now I'll go into the details about the e-invoicing system. So e-invoicing is nothing but it is not the generation of the e-invoice on the portal. It is just registering the invoice on the portal. What we are trying to say, or what the government is also trying to say is, if I am preparing the invoice in my ERP system, I'll jolly well continue doing that. If I am preparing manually, I'll continue doing that. So once this one is ready, that data I will upload into the invoice portal and I'll register that this transaction I'm carrying out. Once it is registered on the e-invoice portal, system will give one reference number. He has to take that reference, write it on the invoice and issue to the other party. This is very simple. So we are not saying that you just give the raw data, what goods you are sending, what is the price value. So system will generate the invoice. We are not saying. System is only getting registered the invoice. You will continue as per your business requirement and business process, giving the charging the other charges or giving the discount, all the things you will continue. We are not stopping that. Once it is everything is prepared in your ERP system or a SAP system, just you have to pass that information to the invoice portal. Invoice portal will register in the system, give an acknowledgement, yes, you are registered this invoice. That acknowledgement he has to take. So NIC is the first and only IRP now as of now. So we are handling the complete load, whatever is coming into the system. Invoice detail has to be submitted to the IRP by the taxpayers. So some basic validation also is taken care when the details are uploaded. So once the registration takes place, system will give back the IRN number. It is a unique reference number given by the system for each invoice. It will give the acknowledgement number, date of signing. It will give a signed copy of the invoice also. Whatever I uploaded the detail about the invoice, it will be signed by the system and give back to him that it has been registered and it is government approved invoice kind of a thing. So that can be used for the other purpose by the taxpayer or whatever it is. Then it also gives the signed QR code. The signed QR code basically the taxpayer has to take from the e-invoice portal and print it on the invoice. This is one basic additional requirement which is required to be followed by the taxpayer. In addition to whatever invoice he is following, preparing, he will continue doing that. In that, only additional thing is that he has to pin the QR code what has been generated on the e-invoice portal. So this is the process involved for the e-invoicing registration. Next slide. So now, who are the people who are eligible to generate the e-invoice or register the invoice? As you know, government is issuing the notification time to time about giving the different slabs of the taxpayer or a turnover who has to register and generate the e-invoice. Eligibilities are considered on the following criteria. So this may be noted here. Total turnover of the taxpayer is considered. So total turnover of the taxpayer indicate that turnover of the PAN is considered, not the GST is being considered. If one business entity is having a 3-4 GSTN across the country, one in Karnataka, one in Delhi, one in Maharashtra, and one in West Bengal, all those turnover will be clubbed for the PAN turnover is taken, and that turnover crosses the limit what government has been defined, then he has to generate the e-invoice. That what we call it as a annual aggregated turnover for the PAN, not for the GST. So that has been considered for the as a turnover limit, and also turnover has to be crossed in any of the previous GST regime financial year. That is the GST we are running now last 4-5 years. During this 4-5 financial year, in any year, if he has crossed the limit of 50 crore or 20 crore, what has been defined, then he has to generate the e-invoice. So this is the mandatory requirement, but there is no optional available in the e-invoice. So it is mandatory for those people who have been notified. Other people, it is not at all mandatory. You need not have to upload also. So below 20 crore, need not have to follow. This is the journey we have followed. October 1st, 2020, we started 50 crore, 500 crore above. Then 100 crore above, we started 1st January 2021. Then 50 crore above 1st April 2021. Now next month, April 1st, we are going to start for a 20 crore above. I'm happy to inform that already when we have enabled for this 20 crore above, more than 2,000 people have started generating the e-invoice on the portal. That itself shows the taxpayers are ready to follow the procedure, whatever has been followed, and they are coming through the API mode or other modes, and they have started generating for in current month only. So we are just enabled, they can practice and start going ahead in that. Already 2,000 people are generating. We are expecting around 1.2 lakh taxpayers are going to start generating in the April onwards, additional taxpayers. Next slide, please. So now applicability. So for taxpayer who are eligible to register, as per the notification, it is applicable. And what we are asking the taxpayer is upload B2B transaction and export transactions only. We are not asking any other things. B2B has to be uploaded and export transaction has to be uploaded. No other like B2C and other things are not required. Only B2B and export we are saying. And document also, which are the document he has to upload? Tax invoice, credit note and debit note. Only these three documents as of now has been enabled and has been notified to generate. So October 1st, 2020 onwards, whatever invoice he has generated, he can upload and take the e-invoice number. Next slide. So this is again important area where the field officer has to know about that is invoice is, even though we are saying 20 crore above the invoice is a mandatory for the whose turnover is more than 20 crore. But however, there are some exemptions the government has given. One is for banking sector or insurance companies, government has told e-invoice is not required to be generated. Food transport agency need not have to generate the e-invoices. Passenger transport agency need not have to generate the e-invoices, like whoever is moving the passengers. Multiplex cinemas need not have to generate the e-invoice. Government department and local authorities of the government need not have to generate the e-invoice. SEZ units have been exempted. ISD units have been exempted. Composition taxpayer need not have to generate. And most important is B2C transaction need not have to be registered on the e-invoice. B2C transaction has been kept out from the e-invoicing system presently. But gradually it will be brought because we don't know what is the B2C transaction limit kind of a thing. So gradually once the B2B, we cover all the areas up to the below 1.5 crore taxpayer also. Then B2C will be brought, keeping some limit, and they will also be brought into the area and be putting up in the e-invoicing portal. Next slide. So finding eligibility of the taxpayer. Now the people may say that yes, you have enabled. I don't know where I have to search and know whether I am really generate the e-invoice or not. How I have to come to know whether my turnover is crossed as per the government portal 20 crore or not. We have provided in the e-invoice 1.gst.gov.in portal. There is one search option is available. The taxpayer can go there. E-invoice status of the taxpayer, one option is there. If he clicks and enter his GSTN ID, anybody can enter anybody's GSTN ID. System say that he is enabled or not. So only that information is sufficient for him to take it further. So any taxpayer can go there and find out that whether he has been enabled for the e-invoice generation or not. This is available. And also there will be some kind of confusion. Some people say that I am not crossed 20 crore, but system is saying that you are enabled. But as per my turnover, I am just only 10 or 15 crore. But in one return R3B I have entered wrongly or so, it has showing more than 20 crore. Under that circumstances, what we have told the taxpayer is, for that you go to the GSTN help desk, write the complaint, write the ticket that I am not eligible for generate e-invoice. So you may remove my number from the e-invoicing portal. So that the GSTN common portal will assess that and they tell us, then we'll remove that. So the taxpayer may be told who's come back and tell the field officer saying that I am not crossed 20 crores, but unnecessarily I have been unable. So please tell them to raise the ticket with the GST in common portal so that that can be taken. There is other criteria also. Some taxpayer may say that I am crossed 20 crores, but system is not showing that you are eligible. Now we have given one option in the portal where the people can go there and register themselves on the portal saying that I am eligible for the E-invoice generation. My turnover for the particular year is crossed 20 crores. So system will automatically enable it. So voluntarily people who have crossed 20 crores want to say that I have crossed 20 crores, they can go and register on the portal. Next slide, please. And he can register himself and take it further there. There is an option available on the portal. They can go and do that. Now registration and access. Now one part is getting enablement. Second part is I have to start generating the e-invoice. To generate the e-invoice, one has to go to the portal and register on the portal, saying that here registration is nothing but he has to generate his username and password. Login credential he has to prepare on the portal. For that, there is the option button available. He has to click that. He has to enter his GSTN ID. His mobile will get one OTP. Once he enters the OTP, then system will allow him to enter his username and password and generate the your login credential. If somebody is using E-way bill system, they need not have to generate the new registry. They need not have to do the registration once again. The E-way bill credential can be used to log into the e-invoice system and generate the e-invoice. So both the systems have been linked seamlessly. Single sign-on has been brought there. The people can follow that and do that one. Next slide, please. So generation of IRN. So what is IRN? IRN is nothing but an invoice reference number generated by the e-invoice portal for the uploading of each invoice. This IRN number is derived mathematically using some algorithm, system algorithm, like it follow the following information. Supplier GSTN will be taken, financial year will be taken, document type will be taken, document number will be taken. With this system will generate one unique number, and that number will be passed back to the taxpayer to put it on his invoice. So ideally speaking, the taxpayer has to submit the invoice in a standard format which we have defined on the portal. That they have to follow and do it, because the big taxpayer who are using ERP system, they can follow and do that. For small taxpayer, we are given a different mechanism which I are going to explain in the coming days, slides. Next slide, please. Here one more point is, for TCS operator who is supplying on behalf of supplier can also generate a e-invoice on behalf of supplier. That provision we have provided. Like for example, Amazon, Flipkart, Snapdeal, all these big player or even other TCS operators, if they are selling the Samsung or LG goods or some other goods, they can generate on behalf of Samsung or behalf of LG e-invoice, and that will be recorded and registered in those suppliers' account. So that will go in R1 of those supplier account. So now the question comes, e-invoice is there, e-way bill is there. Whether I have to generate both of them separately or how I have to follow the mechanism. There are 3-4 criteria involved in the e-way bill requirement. One is in service sectors, I need only the IRN. I only have to register the e-invoice. I need not have to generate the e-way bill. Simple mechanism is go to the portal in the e-invoice portal, enter the supply detail. That is your invoice detail. System will generate IRN and give back to you. That you print it in the invoice and give to the purchaser or a recipient. This is one method. Second method is I also want to generate the e-way bill along with IRN. Yes, there is a provision available. You have to pass the supplier detail, that is supply detail and transportation detail. Which goods, which vehicle is going to carry these goods, you have to mention there. When you mention both together and send the request to the portal, system will generate IRN also and it generate e-way bill also. This will simplify the taxpayer activity rather than going and keep on feeding a e-way bill separately will be avoided. Together he can do and generate the e-way bill and e-invoice together. One more mechanism is there. Some taxpayers say that I want to generate e-invoice now, but tomorrow or day to tomorrow I want to generate the e-way bill. That provision is also provided on the portal. First you supply only the supply details, invoice detail, system will give the IRN detail. Then after 1 or 2 days, whenever you want, you just pass the IRN number of the e-invoice. E-invoice number you pass, then transport vehicle number you pass, e-way bill will be generated. Subsequently, e-way bill generation is further simplified. Rather than giving the complete supply detail and goods detail, you only have to give the reference number of the e-invoice and vehicle number. Based on that, e-way bill will be generated and you can take it further. So that way we have simplified the process, keeping the requirement in the mind. Next slide, please. The time limit. So we are allowing only the invoices to be generated from October 2020 onwards. Currently 2020 onwards, any invoices can be generated. As such, there is no limitation provided. Previously, we had provided before starting the 2 days. That is, if you have generated invoice, prepared invoice today, date, in 2 days you have to upload. But some taxpayer came forward saying that no, in the service sector it will not happen. Generally, we will prepare in the end of the month. All the transactions will carry out. We issue one bill only in the 5th of the month for the previous month. Then we have changed it. We have just kept it open. Policy wing also told that now let us keep it open. Let the people start doing. So we have kept it open. Now it may come with some limitation saying that within a month, once manually it is prepared, it should be uploaded. Some kind of a rule may come or the process may come. Till that time, now it is available. People can continue generating the e-invoice even after 1 or 2 months or issuing the manual invoice to the parties. Now, the IRN, once it is generated, it can be cancelled within 24 hours. There is a mechanism available. If I have made any mistake in the e-invoice, I can go to the portal, hit that IRN number and tell that it can be cancelled. System will cancel the e-invoice, e-invoice for that purpose. However, before cancelling, if you have generated already e-way bill based on that IRN number, e-invoices cannot be cancelled. You have to cancel e-way bill, then cancel e-invoice, then both will be got cancelled. So that is the mechanism available for the e-invoices cancellation. However, it may be noted that if I have generated the e-invoice with a, let us say, invoice number 101. So if I cancel it, I cannot generate with 101 again the same invoice. I have to cancel means it is manually also in my system I have cancelled and also in the e-invoice system also I have cancelled. Next slide, please. Okay, this is about the QR code. I will not go into that in detail here. It is nitty-gritties. It is a little bit technical. QR code will be prepared by the system, which has to be printed on the e-invoice when the e-invoice is generated. QR code contains the supplier GST, recipient GST, invoice number, date, and HSN code. All those things will be there in that. Next slide, please. The printing of the invoice. So e-invoice means what? Currently, whatever the invoice I am issuing to the party, I'll jolly well continue doing that. There is no change in the format to be followed. Only requirement what the government is saying is QR code will be printed in one place, any place, wherever you feel fit, wherever the space is there in your printed invoice, QR code has to be printed in one corner or one place of that. That is the only requirement you have to follow. Otherwise, IRN number is passed by the e-invoice system, acknowledgement number is passed by the system, and the acknowledgement date is passed. They are not mandatory to be printed. But QR code is only the mandatory to be printed on the invoice. But as per the rule now, if it is not been printed, it is illegal, it is saying, but still there is no penalty clause or anything as of now from the government. Gradually it will be brought. Now just we are only encouraging taxpayer to follow the invoicing system. As already Sir has told, invoicing is in very advanced stage in India. Compared to the other countries, still other countries are struggling because we have reached already every day 50 lakh invoice generation is a big achievement as such. If you see from the compare with the other countries where still they are going ahead in a very phased manner, very minute detail kind of a thing. Next slide, please. So validation. In fact, when the invoice is well uploaded, the details of the invoice is uploaded. Invoice system takes care about the two important validation involved. One is the GST related invoice, whether he has given the HSN code properly or not, whether he has given the supplier GST properly, correct one or not. Those are the GST related, whether he is, if interstate, whether he is passing IGST or not, for intrastate CGST. So those kind of a thing system will validate. Plus, it also validates the accounting practices. Like summation should be pakka, multiplication should be pakka. Those summation and multiplication, whatever accounting practices are there, it will ensure that it is properly he has followed. And also whatever GST related are, those things also he has followed properly or not, those validation it will do. In fact, we have listed out around 25 to 30 different validation which whenever they are uploading, the system will take care about that. This will take care about the major requirement, all kind of the validation which is to be followed by the taxpayer. Basically, idea here is we want to ensure that when the taxpayer uploads one data, the government doesn't want go back to say that you have entered wrong data. Later, I don't want to harass him saying that no, after 1 year or 2 year, I'll go and say that no, this validation is wrong. This amount what you are given is wrong. We don't want to tell. Taxpayer also said that you take the data whatever you want. In one go, you take everything. Don't keep on bothering us later. So in that criteria, we have done a lot of validation, ensuring that data is coming pakka. When the data has come pakka, as the Nagendra Kumar sir has also told, we have built the e-invoice analytics. I can take one separate session on that after taking the time from the Nagendra Kumar sir to all the chief commissioner. Basically, we have built some analytics based on the e-invoicing system, where we can understand how the sectorial changes are happening, growths are happening in the particular state or in the kind of HSN wise or the taxpayer wise, pan India wise, what is happening that can be taken up that in a separate. Currently, we are not covering that. So that way, whatever input comes, we can add that. And basically, idea here is that what it is a granular data which we are having, micro level data we are having. Whatever we think we will be able to achieve by analyzing, and basically it will help us to think that how the economy is working and how the things are taking place. Next slide, please. So this is the portal available, which one can go there and see. Portal is enriched with all kind of information. In fact, one need not have to go here and there to know about the detail about the invoicing. Rule related to invoicings are there, FAQs are there, all the tools are available, and videos are available. Everything is a self-contained portal. It is everything can be seen. Any updation happening also is shown on the portal. People on this portal log in and do everything on that. So this is the portal is a self-contained. Just the e-invoice one.gst.gov.in. Any of you can go there and see all this information, and you can understand yourself a lot of things which are there on that. Next slide, please. So this is one app also you have provided. Using the app, because generally what happens, somebody, my supplier will generate the e-invoice and give me the e-invoice with a QR code. Now I have to authenticate whether this fellow has really uploaded the invoice or not. So I have to understand the QR code. For that, we have provided one app on the portal. I can download that app into my mobile. When the app reads this QR code, it says that whether this invoice has been uploaded on the portal or not. It will verify the digital signature of the QR code and say, yes, it has been uploaded or not. So up to that level, taxpayer can assure or recipient can assure that supplier is generating the invoice, is giving the e-invoice copy only to him. So up to that level, we have taken care about validating, providing the other party also the safeguard or kind of a confidence that, yes, the invoice what he's getting is a validated invoice. Next slide. So next, another 2 slides I will cover, then I'll ask my colleagues to take it further. Basically, we have given a different ways of generating the e-invoice. If the taxpayer is having a ERP system or a SAP system or accounting software already is having, he can integrate his system with our server through one of these agencies. His system, he can integrate with our system. That is, one is the GST Suvidha provider. Already GST has created around 60 to 70 Suvidha provider who are providing the R1 upload and R3, R2B download everything. So those people also we are unable to come to the e-invoicing portal. So they can go through them and they can generate the e-invoice by integrating their system with our system. So that automatically it will happen. They need not have to do a double entry. When they entered in their ERP system, same thing will come to the e-invoice system. The reply will come back. They can record and take it further. Other with some like ERP systems, like SAP is there, Tally is there. So many other ERPs who are there in the market. They have also come forward. They have integrated with our system. Those are integrated. They can use that system and take it further also. There is one more interesting trend is there in the market, which I have noticed during the VAT time. The big taxpayers, generally, they will provide the accounting software to their suppliers. For example, big like automobile industries. Whoever their suppliers are there, they will have a large number of suppliers. They provide them the accounting software or the ERP software. That software they will use and integrate, and they will do all kind of activity there. Now, for example, if you take a Maruti Suzuki, they may have around 4,000, 5,000 supplier of the various items. The ERP system is provided by Maruti. This taxpayer will enter all the things. Everything is recorded in the Maruti server. So now Maruti, anyway, we have provided the access to the e-invoicing system. Now we have also told the Maruti and other these people, if you want, you can enable your suppliers to come through your channel to generate e-invoice. so that you will also get a credit when they generate the e-invoice. So most of the big taxpayers are using this channel to educate and bring their suppliers on the e-invoicing system and facilitating them to generate the e-invoice. So that way, reverse thing also, reverse integration is also happening. Both the parties are getting benefited, and system also is getting evolved and getting benefited out of that. So this is the mechanism is also available. Next slide, please. In addition to this API business, which I have told, which is predominantly 100 crore, above 500 crore people use, but now we are looking at the 20 to 50 crore taxpayer. 20 to 50 crore taxpayer are all the small taxpayers. Generally, they may have the ERP system, they may have a capability to integrate, they may have a capability to integrate with the API system, or may not be, we don't know. Most of the time, they will have a lot of struggle in maintaining their software, maintaining the data. To overcome these challenges, we have given now very interesting, easy tools to all these taxpayers on the different platform. First one is this is the browser-based tool is available. We call it as a JEP Online. That is nothing but the generation of GST e-invoice preparation and printing tool. Using the browser system, they can generate the e-invoice without any other software requirement. They can enter all their manually. If I'm preparing the invoice, I'll prepare the invoice, use this tool, enter all that invoice detail, system will hit to the e-invoice portal, give me the IRN number, I can take that IRN number and continue. This tool is also available. And also we have provided a mobile-based app. People can use on the same line the mobile-based app. Simply they can, sitting in his mobile, they can generate the e-invoice. If the people are generating, let's say only 1 or 2 or 10 invoice per day, why they have to invest on they think about that the investment on ERP is going to be costly for them. They can use their mobile or the existing computer system, and jolly well they can. There is the other tool available, we call it the JEP Offline Excel based. This is a completely Excel based tool. In Excel, we have built up the application using which the various parameters will be entered. Locally, it will be stored, and it will allow them to prepare the file. They can upload the file and generate the e-invoice. That also will demonstrate. The third one is some people are using the bulk, that is already they are having some ERP system. They are unable to integrate with API. They can prepare that data into the Excel file, and the Excel, whatever they are doing, they will continue doing. Basically, the lot of taxpayers are doing for the e-way bill system. They will prepare some 100 invoice on their system. They will pull that all the detail into the Excel file. Then the Excel file, we have given a tool which will convert that into the standard format which is required for the e-way bill or e-invoice. When they upload that, it will generate e-invoice and give back to them. So that process is also there. These are the tools which is going to help now the 20 to 50 crore or below 20 crore also. So all kind of facilities and modes we have provided ultimately to ensure that people should not say that no, e-invoicing is a bigger challenge. I have to spend a lot of things. I have to do a lot of things. Kind of a thing is not there. We are just saying if you are continuing with the manual system, you continue with the manual system. If you are having the ERP system, you continue with the ERP system. You are not coming in your way what you are following. But we have given a different tool. Whichever tools fits you, use that and start using the e-invoice or e-way bill system. Next slide, please. Now I'll request my colleague Sunita Benno, Senior Technical Director, who is heading the now e-invoice e-way bill system on our side. So she will go through all these tools and explain in detail about that. Over to Sunita.
Thank you, sir. As sir has explained, there are a number of tools available in the e-invoicing system. Initially, when we rolled out e-invoicing, major emphasis was on the API integration. This was for the taxpayers with above 500 crore. This was done because they already have their ERP systems, and it would be more convenient to them to integrate their ERP system to the e-invoice system. But as the threshold is being decreased, we would find taxpayers with fewer invoices, and the cost of integration to invoice system through the ERP or through any other mode, that would be a bit costly for them. So we have made these tools so that they can comply to e-invoicing readily. So they don't have to have any additional development done on their side. So these tools will help them to generate invoices as quickly as they can generate the e-way bill. So we'll start with the JEPON. JEPON is a GST e-invoice preparing and printing tool. Let us see the features of this JEPON system. This is a browser-based online user-friendly system. That is, we say browser-based because the information that they key in through the system will also be stored as a copy in their local browser. That is, after submitting all the details to the e-invoice system, IRN is generated. Along with that, the information whatever is being generated, like the IRN or the invoice details, that is also there available in their local browser. So this will act as a repository for them to further use the same information. Then e-way bill and e-invoice credentials can be used. So now this Japan system, as I said, it's an online system. So they can log into the system using the same credentials as e-way bill. You already know that e-way bill and e-invoice systems are sharing the credentials. On the same lines, Japan also will be using the same web credentials. The Japan system can be downloaded onto the mobile. So since the system is very simple and user friendly, they can even work on the mobiles. This is also an offline mode. It can be operated in the offline mode. That is, sometimes when the network connectivity is not available, they can still keep entering the invoice details, and on resuming of the network connectivity, they can submit to the e-invoice portal and register their invoice. There are all validations built into the system so that any incorrect data is entered, the system will alert the taxpayer and it can be taken care of. All the functionalities of e-invoice system such as generate invoice, cancel invoice and generate e-way bill are being provided in this system. Now this is how the JEP looks like. The URL is jep.einvoice1.gst.gov.in. You can see here on the left side, there is a help. There are videos for the taxpayer to walk through this system. And here, this is a login. The details can be entered into this. That is a username and password. So as he enters the username and password, the system will prompt for the OTP. So the system is being strengthened with two-factor authentication. The user can, SMS is sent to his mobile, and that is OTP is sent to his mobile, and this OTP can be entered to the system. So on entering to this Japan system, you can see a simple dashboard. Here this dashboard indicates the number of generated invoices and how many pending invoices are there. These are those invoices for which data has been entered, but the invoice is still not registered. The system has a master's kind of concept wherein the frequently used recipients or the customer's details can be stored as one time. So this information will be picked up by the system when he is generating the invoice. And, the taxpayer need not enter all the details of the recipient. Similarly, a master of the products also can be maintained. So any products which he is dealing with on a day-to-day basis, those can be entered as the master, and on entering of the item details, these products will be picked up and the invoice can be generated quickly. There are links here to download the mobile apps onto this mobile, like the Android link and the iOS link. You can see here all the options of the e-invoice system, such as create invoice, e-way, generating of e-way bill or cancelling of IRN, etc. All are available in this menu. Now this is the profile. So as the user has logged into the Japan system, his details are all readily available, his GSTIN, legal name, etc. So to have a look and feel of his business, he can even update his logo into this particular profile, so that when he tries to print a invoice, this logo also will be printed on the invoice. Now this is how the masters of the recipients can be maintained by entering his GSTIN and the legal name, etc. Now we come to the creation of invoice. So when you click on create invoice button, you can see there are 6 tabs available on the top. The first is the document details, wherein he will first select the supply type, that is B2B, whether it is a B2B or SEZ, export or deemed exports. These are the 4 kinds of supplies that are available. Then we have the option of selecting this particular invoice as IGST on intrastate. That is, even if it is an intrastate transaction, if there is an IGST incurred on that, he can say if it is applicable. So on yes, so even if it's an intrastate transaction, he can still enter the IGST values. Then we have the reverse charge. So here the taxpayer can state whether this particular invoice incurs a reverse charges. Then there are three types of documents available: tax invoice, debit note and credit note. So one of this can be selected by the taxpayer. Document number, document date can be entered here. The next tab is the recipient details. As the recipients are already available in the masters, he can just go to search here, and by just providing few characters, he will get a list of all the recipients. He can select one of the recipient and the details are available. He can also select the transaction type. There are four types of transactions, that is regular, bill from, ship to and combination. This is applicable when there is a change in the dispatch address or the ship to address, or or both, that is bill from and the ship to address. Then we have the place of supply. So this is the place where the invoice will be treated as intrastate or interstate, depending on the state he has selected. Now coming to adding the items. So as I said, also the products are there in the masters. He can select when he comes to entering the product description, a drop down list will be shown and he can select one of the product, and the details like HSN code and unit or unit price, quantity, etc. All this will be auto populated. He can only enter the quantity, and since the rate is also as part of the master, that also will be auto populated, and all the complete calculation will be shown here. Next is the total values. So after entering all the item details, he can this tab will show the totals of all these items, and if there is any other charges or discount or round of value, those can be entered again by the taxpayer. Next is the e-way bill. So if this is a goods kind of an invoice, he can even proceed to generate the e-way bill along with this invoice. So this e-way bill is optional. He can even generate it at a later time. So here the transporter ID can be given, and the transporter LR number or the date, etc. can be given here, and the transport mode like road, air, ship, etc. can be given. The vehicle number also will be entered here, and the vehicle type, whether it's a regular or ODC, will be selected. So if it's a regular, it is 200 kilometers for a single day, and if it's ODC, it is 20 kilometers. So accordingly, the validity will be calculated for the e-way bill. So this is the last tab, that is a preview. So here you can see the transaction details and the recipient details. He can also verify all the items if it is correctly entered. And if this is correct in all means, then he can click on this generate button and generate the invoice. So you can see here the e-invoice is now generated successfully. It has an acknowledgement number. Then this is the e-way bill number that is being generated, and the validity date. So you can see here the invoices can be printed. You can also see the QR code and the logo of his company, and also the IRN details, the IRN number. It's a 64 character number. The acknowledgement number is there, and acknowledgement date and transaction details, whatever he has entered, and the seller buyer is indicated along with the item details. You can also see the e-way bill details in this invoice, and you can see here the the invoices digitally signed by the NIC IRP. So with this, he can take a print of this invoice and give it to the customer or his recipient. As I said, there is the other functionality is the cancel invoice. So all the e-invoices that he has generated, in case if there is any correction to be made, or it was a duplicate or whatever, for any reason he wants to cancel this particular invoice, all these list, it will be listed out here. He can select one of them and proceed to cancel the invoice. He has to specify the reason for cancelling of the IRN. Also, you can search the IRNs based on the document details or the IRN, and proceed to cancel the invoice. The next is the backup or the restore data. So here we have said that it's a browser-based application, and the taxpayer will be having a copy of all the invoices that he has generated on his local browser. So sometimes there may be a change in the browser. Maybe he wants to work on a browser from Mozilla. He wants to change to Chrome, or he wants to use a Microsoft Edge. So in that case, when he opens those information which he has entered or he has generated invoice, those will not be available here. So in that case, he may get panicked. So for instead of you can guide him saying that you can take a backup from that particular browser and import into this particular selected browser. So this way he can keep backing up his data and importing into whichever system or whichever browser he wants, and continue his e-invoice generation. So this was about the JEP on system. Now we come to the JEP offline system. So this is an Excel based tool. So this we have given for the taxpayer so that he need not be connected with the online system. He can comfortably use the system so that and enter all the invoices. And once he completes entering the invoices, he can upload this to the invoice portal. So in the JEP offline, this is an Excel based application. There are some user friendly forms so that he can enter the invoice details as if he is entering in one application. So data is available in the Excel sheets, and which will act as a repository. And there are some few validations incorporated. Here also we can have the masters for the recipients and products, which will help in entering the invoices quickly. On entering of all these invoices, he can prepare this data file and upload it into the e-invoice portal. The another feature what we have given is the payments information. So as and when he generates the invoice, he would also want to understand or know what was the payment done by him and what is the balance to be given by the customer or the recipient. So all such balances may be tracked using this Excel sheet. The payments and the balances will not be available in the invoice portal. It will be only in these Excel sheets. So this is how the JEP offline tool looks like. If you look at the back end, it is only an Excel tool. It's not an online system. So all the options are available, like creating the invoice or printing of the invoice and updating the payment details and creating masters, etc. So this Excel sheet also has a backup and restore option, so that anytime he wants to use a newly updated tool or the new version of this JEP tool is available, the information of this from this particular tool can be imported to the new version of this tool. So this is the profile, one-time profile which he has to enter. As I said, this profile needs to be updated by the taxpayer because this is an offline tool, and he needs to update these details as a one-time measure. So the details like GSTN, legal name, address, phone number, email ID will be updated. He can also update his company logo. So now he can also create a masters of all the recipients. You can see the customer's details or the recipient details will be entered and will be stored in this particular Excel sheet. So this is the product masters, where again the product name, then the HSN code, units, what is the price or tax rate, all these details can be stored and as a one-time measure. So now he comes to the generation of invoices. He will select this particular category, whether it's a B2B, SEZ, etc., whether it's in a reverse charge, document type, and document number date, and the document date can be entered, and the recipient details can be auto-populated by selecting from the drop down. Again, there's transaction details, whether it incurs IGST on intra or transaction type. Then here we have the items. He can click on this and start entering the item details. So here you can see there are other fields like other charges, discount, round off, etc. The payment details also can be entered in this invoice. Also, there is a button here to update the e-way bill details. So this is how he will add the product. He'll click on the add item. He will enter all these details and submit this. So this particular item is now entered into this invoice. When if he wants to generate the e-way bill, he has to provide the transporter ID, then transport mode, distance, document number, date, and vehicle number, etc., and submit these details. So on, he can do a preview of all this invoice and confirm the invoice. So on confirming, all these invoice details are available in the Excel sheet. You can see here how this data is being shown. So now he can click on the prepare JSON. This is a button where the data file will be generated. You can see here how it is prompting. The file is created in so and so folder, and now the next thing is he has to go to the invoice portal with his and log in using his credentials. Here the user will be entering his username, password and logging in. There's an option to bulk upload the invoices. On selecting of that, the taxpayer can say now he has to upload this file which he has generated. So he will go to this particular folder, select this file and say upload. So once it is uploaded, the system will validate all these invoices, and with all other validations incorporated in the portal, it will verify the correctness and then it will generate the e-invoice or the IRN number. There could be some invoices where the invalidations have failed, and that will be indicated here saying that failed to upload. So once their IRNs are generated successfully, the same will be available in the as a JSON file. So this JSON file can be downloaded into his system, and he can even import this file into the tool, that is a JEP tool. So there is also an Excel file that some of the taxpayers insisted that they want an Excel file also. So we have provided this Excel file. So this is one JSON file and the Excel file available for the taxpayers to download and import it into their system. And also there is one more added feature, that is download print PDF. So now he would have uploaded around 50 invoices. He also wants to have a print of all these 50 invoices. So bulk print also is available in the system. So now when he goes to print, you can see the invoice will be printed with the QR code and all the details as I explained previously. So continuing on the tool, he can also update the payment details as and when the payments are received. He can update against that invoice the additional payment that he has received. And there is a report also available for the taxpayer to track all the balances and take action. So that was about the JEP of tool. Now we come to the bulk generation of invoices. These are some again Excel tools, but they are not in not having the user friendly forms. So they are just an Excel tool with all the columns, and the taxpayer needs to go to this tool and enter the data into the respective columns. So we come to these tools. You can see here, this was the initial tools that we had provided for the taxpayers before we came up with the JEP off or the JEP on tools. So these were the first set of tools we had provided. These are the there are four formats in this particular tool, that is format A, B, C and D. Format A was specifically done for those taxpayers who have with only single items in their invoice. So since this is a very simple tool, they can just enter in one line itself what are his document details, who is the recipient and what is the item, and they can prepare the data file. The format B is for those taxpayers for who are having multiple items. So in that case, they will be having two separate sheets, one sheet with all the invoice details, and the second sheet will have all the item details. And these two sheets will be linked by the document number and the document date and the document type. The other two sheets, these are very comprehensive kind of sheets, that is format C and D, wherein all the details like the export details, payment details, reference details, which are as per the schema, can be entered into the sheet. I think this format A and format B would be more helpful for the taxpayer who are having simple invoices and without any kind of exports and such details. And also we can see that this particular Excel sheet has different tabs. The profile, you can see down, there is a welcome tab, profile, invoice, sample invoices, and the schema is shown here. You can click on this schema option down, and you can also see the validations that are being done on the invoicing, and what are the calculations being performed in this sheet are also indicated. There are also some frequently asked questions so that it will answer all the queries of the taxpayers. So here, this is another place where the profile details can be entered. As I said here, since this is an offline tool, the taxpayer needs to enter his GSTN and all his address details. And also he can even customize this particular tool or the Excel sheet to his requirements. As we know, most of the taxpayers may not be having all the features of this, all the features of what is being given in the schema. Like say for example, reverse charges. Some of the taxpayers may not be having the reverse charges in their business, or they may not be using any e-commerce GSTIN, or they may not be having any kind of free quantities, and they may not be doing any exports, or they may not be having any e-way bills requirement. So accordingly, these options can be selected as yes or no, and when they select no, this particular column will not be visible in the sheet. So they can enter only the relevant details and generate the invoice quickly. So this is how the tool looks like. You can see this is a column wise format, and based on the customization he has done in the profile, he will get only those columns which are applicable to him. So on entering all these details, he can validate this sheet. And one more thing is, some of the taxpayers who are already having the information in their Excel sheets, those details can be readily copy pasted into this sheet, and which would save a lot of time for them. So once on clicking of prepare JSON or validate button, first he has to do the validate, and he can see if there are any errors in this particular sheet. And if there is any errors, this will be shown here in one particular last column. I will be showing that. And this is the items details. As I said, if it is he's having multiple items, then he has to enter this in a separate sheet. And you can see the linking columns for the first, that is a document sheet, and the item sheet is these three: document type, document number, and document date. So he will enter all these items in the sheet. And first, he can also enter the export details if required, or e-way bill details if he has to generate the e-way bill. And on clicking of validation, validate button, he will get a list of all the errors in case. He can see here the on the same line where this error is occurring, it means that he has to go and correct in this particular row. So if there are no errors, the system indicates the data is validated successfully, and he can continue to generate the JSON. There is a prepare JSON button here, and he can generate this JSON file. So the next process is again to upload this particular JSON file into the e-invoice portal. So as I said, the complete information about this tool is available here, like the validations and what are the calculations. He can understand more about this in this particular sheet. So as continuing on the uploading of invoices, he will select that file and generate the invoices. And here again, this download Excel is available. He can import this Excel file into this tool, and he will also have the IRN available in his bulk tool. So these were all the tools which are available for the taxpayers. So using these tools, he can get ready for e-invoicing at the earliest, and this is a very simple way of complying to the e-invoicing. With this, I complete my presentation. Now I request Suresh Meti, Technical Director, to discuss on the frequently asked questions. So these questions will help the taxpayers, will help the officers in answering the taxpayers' frequently asked questions. Over to you, Suresh.
Thank you, Sunita ma'am. Good afternoon to all the officers. So already all the help content is available on the e-invoice portal, e-invoice1.gst.gov.in. We have manuals, videos, documents, etc. available in the portal. So apart from that, we also have frequently asked questions in the portal as well. But now we have taken out some of those questions which are being asked by the taxpayers very frequently. And these could be the same questions what your taxpayers could be asking you when you are in the field. So as a recap of today's session, as well as to give a ready-made answers for the officers to answer these questions, we are running through some of these questions now. So usually the taxpayers ask like, how do I know whether I am supposed to register invoices? So the taxpayer can visit the e-invoice portal, and there is an option under in the menu search, and under search there is an option called as e-invoice status of taxpayer. By entering the GSTIN here, the taxpayer will be able to know whether he is supposed to register the invoices or not. Which turnover is considered for eligibility of the taxpayer for registering the invoices? So any of these years since the GST is implemented, if the taxpayer has crossed the threshold as announced by the as notified by the government. So initially it was 500 crore, subsequently 100 crore, then 50 crore, and now from 1st of April 2022, those taxpayers who are having turnover more than 20 crores are supposed to register their invoices. And here the total turnover is considered, and it is considered for the PAN. So if they have multiple GSTN on the same PAN, the turnover of all the GSTNs is added together, and the turnover is calculated to see whether the taxpayer is supposed to register the invoices or not. So my turnover is more than 20 crores, but my status shows I am not eligible for invoice. How can I enable myself? So there is an option in the portal for the taxpayers who are actually more than 20 crore turnover taxpayers, but the status shows that they are not eligible. They can go to this portal again, the e-invoice1.gst.gov.in. There in the menu, they can choose registration, and under that there is an option e-invoice enablement. There they can enter their GSTIN, and OTP will be sent to their registered mobile number and email to authenticate them. And subsequently, they have to mention the year in which year they have crossed the turnover as mentioned in the notification, and they can enable themselves for registering the invoice. Once they have enabled themselves, they can again in the same portal, they can register themselves to start registering the invoices. So is invoicing voluntary? That is, can entities with aggregate turnover less than 20 crores allowed to generate invoices from IRP if they wish to do? No, it is not a voluntary. So only those taxpayers who are in the eligible range as per the government notification, only they are allowed to register themselves on the portal and generate the IRNs. I am one of IST, SCZ or TDS or UNI. Am I supposed to register my invoices on IRP? No, these category of taxpayers are not supposed to register their invoices on the portal. My turnover is less than the threshold announced by government, or my business type is exempted from e-invoice, but the portal shows my business is enabled for e-invoice. How can I get disabled? So many taxpayers come back and say like we are from the banking sector or financial sector, or my turnover is just 5 crores or 10 crores or something like that. So in that case, they are supposed to approach the GST common portal through their help desk and raise their grievance at the common portal. Can I integrate my system through API with e-invoice system? The direct integration of API is provided only for those taxpayers who are having more than 500 crore turnover as of now. So other people, other taxpayers, if they wish to integrate, they have to integrate through the GSPs or ERPs, or they can approach their suppliers or recipients who are having more than 500 crore turnover, and they have already got the direct integration with the NIC's IRP. So through them also they will be able to integrate their existing financial accounting system or ERPs to the NIC IRP. What are the modes of invoice registration for taxpayers with turnover less than 500 crore? So all the tools that have been discussed today, explained by Sunita madam, so they are all more suitable for the taxpayers who are having turnover more less than 500 crore. And those taxpayers who are generating very less number of IRNs in a day, they can make use of the JEP on and JEP off tool, which allow the taxpayers to enter one invoice details at a time through the user-friendly forms. And those who are having more number of IRNs to be generated in a day, they can make use of the bulk generation tool, which is based on the Excel. So from their accounting software, they can copy the data in the required format into the bulk generation tool, and in one go they will be able to generate multiple IRNs by uploading the generated JSONs from the bulk generation tool. Is there a facility to enter one invoice details at a time to register invoice? For such requirement, the taxpayers can use JEPOF or JEPON tool or the mobile application which can be downloaded from the e-Invoice portal. So these three facilities allow the taxpayers to enter one by one invoice details in a user-friendly form. Can we use the same credentials to access the e-Invoice and E-way bill in production environment? Yes, both the systems are developed run by NIC and both are interrelated. So we have seamlessly integrated both the systems. So there is no need to register for separate user ID and password on two systems. Once they have registered on one system, they will be able to use the same credentials on the other system. I have registered at GST portal. Do I have to register separately on the E-way bill and e-invoice system? Yes, the GST portal is a different system, and E-way bill and e-invoice systems are separately deployed and run. So there is a need for registration separately for the E-way bill or e-invoice system. But however, once registered on E-way bill, the same credentials can be used on the e-invoice. Do I need to generate the invoice on the IRP? No. The generation of the invoice itself will take place in your local, in the taxpayer's local system, the way they have been already doing. After they have created the invoice, they have to only come to the portal for registration of the invoice and obtain the IRN. Can I amend the details of a reported invoice for which IRN has already been generated? No, there is no provision for modifying the contents of the invoice once it is generated and the registered and the IRN is obtained. Only thing they can do is cancel the IRN, cancel the original invoice, regenerate a new invoice and register the new invoice. However, if they are not able to cancel and generate a new invoice, they can amend the details on the GST common portal while they are filing their R1. What is the time limit for generation of IRN? So earlier it was set for 24 hours. Like once they have generated the invoice, within 24 hours they were supposed to register on the IRP, but subsequently this restriction has been removed. As of now, those documents, whether it's a tax invoice or credit note or debit note, which are generated after 1st October 2020 can be registered on the IRP. But subsequently, it may be restricted to those documents which are generated only in the current financial year. If I have committed mistake in invoice and generated IRN for it, can I cancel the IRN and regenerate IRN again for the same invoice? So cancellation is possible, but regeneration on the same document is not possible. But if you could recall, in E-way bill, this is allowed. In a E-way bill, if you have generated E-way bill within 24 hours, you can cancel the E-way bill, and then the taxpayer can regenerate another E-way bill for the same document. But in e-invoice, even though the IRN is cancelled, registration of the same document number again is not allowed. They have to create a new document with a new number, and that has to be registered. What are the time limits for cancelling the invoice, and how long the invoices are available at IRP for download? The IRNs can be cancelled within 24 hours of generation of the generation of the IRN or registration of the invoice. And this data will be available on the IRP for next 2 days. So within that, they can either print the invoices or they can download the data. But beyond 2 days, the data will not be available for the taxpayers to either print or download it from the portal. So since we are giving the digitally signed JSON, the taxpayers are supposed to download this data and incorporate it in their existing system for future use. Can the taxpayer generate IRN after E-way bill generation? So ideally, first the invoice is generated and subsequently only on that basis the bill is generated, E-way bill is generated just before the moment of the goods starts. So the vice versa is not practically the followed practice. So first the invoice has to be generated, and then the IRN has to be registered before it is issued to the taxpayer, and E-way bill can be generated before the goods start moving. If the e-way bill has to be generated for the invoice, but the transportation details are not available at the time of invoice generation, then how to generate the e-way bill? So if all the e-way bill details are available, including the transportation details, the taxpayer can generate both IRN as well as the e-way bill in one go. But in case the transportation details are not available at the time of registration of the IRN, and only IRN can be generated at that moment. And subsequently, there is a facility where by specifying the IRN and transportation details, e-way bill can be generated. So the system will automatically take the party details from the IRN, which is given as a reference, and using that e-way bill can be generated. When an IRN is cancelled, whether the associated e-way bill also gets automatically cancelled? No, the e-way bill doesn't get automatically cancelled. Here it's a two-step process. First, the e-way bill has to be cancelled, and subsequently the IRN has to be cancelled. And in case the e-way bill is already verified by the tax officer, then the system will not allow cancellation of the e-way bill. In such cases, even the IRN also cannot be cancelled. Do I need to print in e-invoice as provided in the portal, or can I have my own format for invoice? Only for the convenience sake, we have provided the facility for printing the invoice, that too in a specific standard format for all the taxpayers. But it is advised to the taxpayers to download the JSON, incorporate into their own system, and print the invoice as per their own format and as per their own requirement. But only thing is they should print the QR code, which can be scanned by any QR code scanner. Do I need to print the QR code on the invoice? If so, what shall be its size and location on the invoice copy? While returning IRN, the IRP is also giving IRN number, acknowledgement number, and date, whether these also need to be printed while issuing the invoice. Printing the QR code is mandatory, but printing of acknowledgement number and acknowledgement date is not mandatory. QR code can be printed in any position, any place on the invoice and of any size, but only thing is they have to ensure that the QR code should be scannable by any scanner. Since the IRN is a 64 character long alpha string, it will be very difficult to refer in any other context. So we have the IRP is also generating one smaller number, which is called as acknowledgement number. This can be used only for the reference, but it is not mandatory to print this acknowledgement number on the invoice. Whether B2C invoices can be reported to IRP for generation of IRN? No, B2C invoices are kept outside the purview of the e-invoice as of. IRNs on behalf of the suppliers on the IRP. Who has to generate reverse charge mechanism invoices? So here this is a supplier oriented system. So there is no registration and login allowed for the recipient alone. So the suppliers only have to register the RCM invoices also. In case of breakdown of internet connectivity in certain areas, will there be any relaxation for the requirement to obtain IRN? This will be announced by the government as and when such situations arise. In the current schema, there is no provision to report details of supplies not covered under GST. For example, hotel wants to give single invoice for B2B supply, where supply includes food and beverages which are covered under GST, and alcohol beverages also which are outside GST. So in such cases, separate invoices have to be issued, one for GST and other for non-GST, and only the GST invoice has to be registered on the portal, and already taxpayers are following this practice. The TDS of income tax is not part of the e-invoice schema. Is it not required to display this in the invoice? If so, how to pass the details? So as of now, these kind of additional parameters are not available in the schema. So we are advising the taxpayers to accommodate these values in the other charges or in the discount field wherever it is applicable for such parameters which are not available in the schema as of now. What is the maximum number of line items which can be reported in an invoice? Up to 1,000 line items can be entered per invoice in these bulk tool and JUP tool. But for the API users, there is a separate API which allows registration of items more than 1,000 items. So this can be taken as a 1,000 item as a limit for the JUP and other tools. In case of credit note and debit note, is there any validation with respect to the referred invoice number? No, we are not validating the original invoice number whenever a credit note or debit note is getting registered. How are the interstate or intrastate transactions identified? Whether the transaction is interstate or intrastate, it is identified based on the state code of the supplier and the state code which is specified for the parameter place of supply. On e-invoice portal, IRN generation are failing because of minor variations in the calculation. What should be done? Initially, we had very strict validation rules kept, and subsequently we had to give a tolerance limit to accommodate the rounding off and other calculations. So now all such small variations are taken care by the system, and it's working fine. So now we have come to the end of these frequently asked questions. If other than these things, any other questions are there, the same can be put in the chat box. I think we can take up some of those questions from there.
Sir, I'll request Nagendra Kumar sir to add anything sir wants to add.
I think a very, very comprehensive coverage, not only explaining the key features by Mr. P.V. Bhatt on the technical aspect, both JEP-on and JEP-off, and the offline utilities otherwise available in the bulk invoice upload by Ms. Sunita Benur. And also the FAQ as a wrap up on the discussions, what happened. I think after that comprehensive coverage, I don't think, Mr. Bhatt, I have anything more to add. I have carefully watched a couple of policy issues which are flagged for us to take note of that and issue clarifications. We will deliberate upon that. Some of them would require a law committee discussion. Some of them probably I think we need to take a policy call on that. We will do that. I only thank all the participants for being attentive and attentive to this program. Today we are of 24th March. We are left with about 7-8 days precisely from today since this rollout will happen. All of you must be wondering why I think such a program is being organized at a very short notice, because we are in a great hurry for the simple reason that 1st April is the rollout date. We had taken this proposal to the Honorable Finance Minister sometimes in the way back in the last week of January. And this decision to reduce the number of turnover from 50 crore to 20 crore was a GIC decision ratified by, of course, the Honorable Finance Minister. We are just giving you this as an orientation program. You know that the taxpayers in the bracket of 50 to 20 crores will have to come on board from 1st of April. So for that, I think it is incumbent on each one of you in your zone to organize an outreach program. I've already requested Mr. P.V. Bhatt to share in the PDF format the 3 beautiful presentations made by them as a part of educating our central taxpayers. On receipt from them from Mr. Bhatt, I will share with all the principal chief commissioners and commissioners. You can have an outreach program by having your own, peer group persons who can be chosen from your zone to conduct outreach programs. I think we have already been doing it on Saturdays. At a national level, we did it for Karnataka statewide offices on last Saturday, and also the trade. Like that, you can organize, and wherever you feel, I think, subject to, of course, any of the resource persons available in NIC, you can always request them to also come and help you out in organizing the program. But the initiative will have to be taken by the zonal principal chief commissioners and chief commissioners. And of course, I think you need to reach out to the taxpayers. It's a huge responsibility on our part to not only explain the nuances, but also make everybody come on board. One important slide which Mr. P.V. Bhatt shared with all of you with regard to the people already above the threshold of 50 crores to 500 crores above, who are required to generate e-invoice but not generating. Now that could be a matter of interest for all of you. There could be a certain category of persons with an higher turnover who are excluded from the requirement of mandatorily raising the e-invoices. He has narrated about instances like for those on the banking and non-banking financial companies, I think insurance, also talked about B2C transactions and totally exempted categories. Now, we are contemplating within GSTN and the GST policy wing, how do we get a feedback mechanism built into that? Probably a declaration could be filed in the GSTN portal by the taxpayers that though my threshold limit is there and I am shown as an eligible taxpayer for generating a GST e-invoice, for these reasons, I am not required to generate an e-invoice sort of a thing that is available on the portal for anybody to see, including the taxpayer and the tax officials. That's one way we are looking at that. But apart from that, all of us need to now look at it. Rule 48.4 already mandates that if a person is required to raise an invoice in the e-invoice format only, and if he doesn't raise it, he is liable for a penalty. Sooner or later, the oversight bodies will ask this question as to what have you done with regard to the persons who are mandated to write the invoice but not doing so. So it could be on account of the exception carved out, or it could be that simply people are not complying with that. In that category, probably I think the tax administration will have to play a proactive role in educating them, reaching out to them, and create awareness in complying with that. As the thresholds are getting reduced periodically, I think that number of persons who are not generating invoice, who are liable to generate, will only increase. Now, going forward, I think with the type of response what we are going to receive in this segment of 20 to 50 crores, probably a day is not far. We would provide for between 5 crore to 20 crore an optional approach for coming into the e-invoicing system. For paucity of time, Mr. Bhatt could not explain about all the details with regard to the sectoral analysis which has been made possible. If you could introduce this segment of the total number of suppliers, total number of recipients available in the current e-invoice ecosystem, you will realize that to an extent, a large amount of tax revenues, what we collect, would be coming within the umbrella of the e-invoicing system. That itself is a great reassuring factor that we have on a real-time basis data available to those revenue contributing units for which we require to focus on our compliance. Thank you once again, Mr. Bhatt and team. Excellent presentation, outstanding engagement of our tax officers, being a technical vertical. I think the way you have understood our tax process and tax technology, I think that provides that type of a comfort for us to get in touch. And I would encourage all the chief commissioners, principal chief commissioners, please keep in touch with PV Bhatt for your training needs and capacity building initiatives. Thanks once again for all of you. Thank you. That's all I want to say, Mr. Bhatt. Over from my side.
Thank you, sir. We have some couple of questions. I'll just answer that, sir. Then afterwards we will take it. And before that, as sir has told, 25th tomorrow we are having one more for a taxpayer. I request you to tell all your taxpayer or association. We have sent the link by mail also to all the principal chief commissioner and commissioner. You communicate to all the people. If large number of people can you go through that, they will understand better and they will be able to comply with all the things. That is one thing. Then there are some
one more suggestion, Mr. Bhatt. Since our number of login is limited to 1,000, this is what we have experienced on last Saturday and yesterday also. Kindly, if you can live stream your program, tomorrow's program in YouTube, we will also give that link also. That will help us in reaching out to the wider population. Thank you.
Yeah. Yes, sir. Yesterday we have done. Today also we have done, sir. Today and tomorrow also we'll share that so that if the people are crossing 1,000, they can go through the YouTube and understand the whole process. That we'll do.
Thank you very much. I was not aware of that. Thank you for that.
Yes. Now today there are some questions. One question is there from Priya Patil. How many taxpayers have integrated their e-invoicing generation system with the NIC IRP? As I told you, 1.5 lakh taxpayers, suppliers are generating e-invoice. Directly, indirectly, more than 1.25 lakh taxpayers have integrated with the API system. 1.25 lakh. They are all the big taxpayers. They are comfortably, they can do around 20,000. They have not done, maybe because of the various reasons. But around 1.25 lakh people have done through that process. They directly or indirectly, they have come through the GSP, they have come through the ERP, or directly they have taken the access and they have done. For the Japan, this is from Mr. Ajay Ubale. For the JEPOF, do you have a facility to auto updating the validation or a database? Yeah, both are there. Some certain extent validations are possible there because it is a completely offline. Some like for HSN master, unique quantity code, all those things we have put it in that package, so that validation will happen. Whereas the GSTN ID, supplier recipient GSTN ID validation is not possible. And also it is having a local database created in Excel itself. So that people can also, as my colleague was explaining, they can enter the payment detail also. Whatever they have entered, that they can store. I mean, it is may not replace the complete ERP system what the people are doing, but to certain extent, it will help the taxpayer to maintain their invoice system using that JEPOF tool. That is the idea on which we are given. We are not given a complete ERP system like accounting or so, but to certain extent, definitely it will help them to take care about that. And there is one more question: is there any officer log available in the analytical report? Yes, log is available. I don't know whether we have provided a log or not. Sunita, can you elaborate on that? Have you provided any report on this?
Yes, sir, there
Yes.
is a log available for the analytics reports, like when they have accessed and all, and what are the reports being accessed, all this information is available.
That is there in the analytics only. Or is it
Yes.
accessible to all the officers or only nodal officers?
It's not accessible to anybody, sir,
Sorry.
but there is a log available.
Log is available. We can provide to the nodal
Yes.
officer, whoever has been enabled, so that nodal officer can see. And one more point I thought I will update you also. Every day we are sending one report. How many officers of your zones are using the analytical system and MIS system? This report is also going to the member and the chairman. So basically to give you the update that how the people are using the e-way bill analytical system, just as an idea, so that you can know that people are using. If they are not using, you can encourage them to use and take it further on that. So one more question is there from Paritosh Vyas here. Is it possible to get the jurisdiction list of taxpayers who have enabled for this facility starting from 1st January 22 to 4th January 22? We have provided the report 20 to 50 crore. In that, they will get all those people who are enabled in the recent in March itself. There is one more question from Commissioner Palkhar. For AATO, are we supposed to include the non-GST turnover and exempted turnover? This, yes, as per my knowledge goes, complete turnover of the taxpayer, non-GST exempted, everything is considered when it comes to the turnover. That is what the GSTN has taken and provided the list of the taxpayer who have covered the more than 20 crore. So these are the questions. I will request Sunita Benno to conclude if there are no. One more question has come. This is from Mr. Lalan Kumar. Earlier it was available for 6 months. Now it is reduced to 3 months. Can it be reduced to 6 months? Is it related to? I didn't understand. Related to what? Whether it's the vehicle report or any report on the e-way bill. Okay, fine. Already we have crossed 1 p.m. Now people may be waiting for their lunch because we had an exhaustive session for 2 hours now. I'll request Sunita Benno to conclude the process.
Thank you, sir. Now I request Suresh Meti to give a vote of thanks. Over to you, Suresh.
Yeah, thank you, Sunita. All the respected sirs and madam, we had a very overwhelming response for this webinar. We had crossed the limit of 1,000 participants at a time, and many people have also used the YouTube live, and more than around 200 people have watched through the YouTube as well. We thank DP Nagendra Kumar sir for his insights through the inaugural address as well as the ending note. So he's been a source of encouragement for us. We thank sir for participating and giving his thoughtful insights on this particular subject. On behalf of NIC, I thank all the principal chiefs commissioners, and all the senior officers for their participation in the webinar. I hope this session has benefited all the officers in understanding the nuances of e-invoicing system. With all your continued support, we hope in making the e-invoicing system a great success. The PPT will be shared. I think already it's been shared to the nodal officer group. Subsequently, again, we are going to share this PPT to all the officers. Thank you.
One more point, just last concluding, because we are now releasing the help links. Basically, help links is a PPT there, and also we are releasing the FAQ, one separate link, and we are releasing the video links on the Japan and Japan tools. Now 3 links we have released. Other links also we are releasing. Just we are sharing so that you can use that and circulate to all your officers. They can go through that, and if they are not seeing the PPT, also they can go through. Go through that and understand the complete detail about the e-invoicing system. So that help links will be shared in the coming days also. Regularly, we are releasing about the videos, audios, all kind of things. Thank you. That you can get. Thank you to all.
Thank you.
Thank you,
We
sir.
are closing the session.
Thank you.
I'll stop.